Today, we're going to solve a puzzle that so many English learners face. How do you get your point across with confidence without accidentally coming off as rude? We're going to look at some small but seriously powerful changes in how you phrase things that can totally transform how people see you.
You know that feeling, right? Where you say something, you know the grammar is perfect, but the look you get back is just a little off? It's a super common worry, and I want to be clear. It has nothing to do with you or your personality. It's all about learning the unwritten rules of English politeness.
And this is the absolute key. You can have perfect, textbook grammar, but if you translate directly from your own language, some phrases can sound really blunt or even demanding in English. But the great news is, this is just a skill. It's something you can learn, just like you learned everything else.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to tackle 4 really common and sometimes tricky situations. We'll cover making polite requests, how to disagree without starting a fight, saying no in a nice way, and how to bring up a problem without all the drama. Let's jump in.
First up, asking for things. This is probably one of the biggest areas where people accidentally sound a bit bossy, just by being too direct. What we're aiming for is to ask for what we need, but also show that we respect the other person's time.
So just look at the difference here. On the left, we have these direct commands. Give me the report. It sounds like an order, right? But on the right, we just rephrase it as a question. Could you send me the report? Suddenly, it's not an order, it's a collaborative ask. It's such a small tweak, but the impact is huge.
Okay, this phrase right here, this is your secret weapon for making requests. When you start with, I was wondering if you could, it instantly softens everything. It tells the other person you've been thoughtful about it, and you're not just barking an order. It's golden, especially in emails.
So, to break it down, here's your little toolkit. First, just try to avoid those direct commands. Second, use what I call soft starters, like could you or would you mind. And third, if you can, add a little phrase about timing, like when you get a chance. It shows you're not expecting them to drop everything for you.
All right, on to our next challenge, disagreeing. Look, it happens all the time. It's a normal part of talking to people, but how you do it makes all the difference between a healthy debate and an argument.
Just feel the shift in energy here. Your wrong is like a punch. It feels personal. But something like, I don't think that's quite correct. That shifts the focus from the person to the information. It opens the door for a discussion instead of slamming it shut.
Now this is another magic phrase. When you kick things off with, I see your point, you're signaling respect. You're basically saying, hey, I listened to you, I understand where you're coming from, before you even offer your own idea. It completely changes the tone.
So the playbook for disagreeing well is pretty simple. First, avoid those direct hits like, you're wrong. Use softening phrases instead, like, I think, or the way I see it. And, the most important part, always acknowledge their point first. You're building a bridge, not a wall.
Now for the one that makes a lot of people squirm, saying no. It's so important for protecting your own time and energy, but we all worry about sounding rude or unhelpful. Well, there's a way to be firm and kind. Check out the difference. No, I can't just lands hard. It can feel really abrupt. But if you start with something positive or appreciative, like, I wish I could, you cushion the blow. You're saying no to the request. You're not rejecting the person who asked.
This is probably the MVP of saying no politely in English. It starts out so warm and positive. I'd love to, which shows you really value the invitation before you gently explain that you can't. It keeps things friendly.
So here's the 3-step recipe for saying no. 1. Start with something positive. 2. Deliver the no gently, using phrases like, I'm not able to. And 3, if it makes sense, offer an alternative. Something like, I can't do it this week, but what about next week? That shows you're still on their team.
Okay, last section. Let's talk about what to do when something goes wrong. How do you bring it up without making it sound like you're blaming someone? The secret is to focus on the problem, not the person.
This is so important. Pointing a finger with, you sent the wrong file, just makes people defensive. But if you use neutral, observational language like, I noticed the file looks a bit different, it invites them to solve the problem with you. It's about teamwork, not blame.
This phrase is just brilliant. When you say, I'm having trouble with, you're framing the issue as a challenge you're facing. It's a totally non-confrontational way to flag a problem, and it makes people want to help you.
So, the framework here is super clear. Ditch the blaming words. Use soft, neutral ways to start the conversation, like "there seems to be" or "I noticed." And always, always steer the conversation towards finding a solution, not just talking about what went wrong.
And there we have it, 4 super practical toolkits for 4 really common situations. Getting good at making polite requests, handling disagreements gently, saying no gracefully, and solving problems constructively. I mean, this will totally change the game for your English conversations.
And let me just say, this is the most important thing to remember. Some people think being polite is the same as being weak or wishy-washy. No way. It's not about that at all. This kind of communication is about being clear, being respectful, and being confident enough to get what you need while keeping your relationship strong. It's a superpower.
So, I'll leave you with this thought. As you go into your day tomorrow, at work or with your friends, which conversation are you going to transform? Which one of these little techniques are you going to try out first?